All right. Welcome back, guys. I have a very special guest with me, Steve Wyche of NFL Network, one of the best reporters slash analysts in the game. How's it going, Steve? And welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I apologize for getting my time zone times mixed
No
up,
worries.
Jake. So I appreciate the flexibility and patience, man. So thanks for having me on, though. Glad to be back on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to have you on. Again, I was just talking about it, like, oh yeah, you're on TV, and oh, now I'm talking with you. It's pretty cool. But man, we have a lot to talk about, and you reported a lot of this stuff, and just your colleagues. It was a busy and unprecedented off season. When you factor in, how many guys took those 1 year deals, the lack of cap space, because, we knew about that coming in, but just seeing like what the New England Patriots did, going out and getting almost an entire 53-man roster in the offseason. We got a lot to discuss. So I want to ask you right off the cuff, what is the biggest move that, like, trade or like, free agent acquisition? What's the biggest move of this offseason that kind of maybe reshaped the NFL landscape as we know it?
It never reshapes the NFL landscape. I mean, that's the one thing. We'll see them like, oh, Darrelle Revis, he's going to play for the Patriots now, or it never reshapes the landscape. So it's usually a role player or some guy who's a really good player. And the moves, the two moves I really like are what Cleveland made and getting two really good defensive players from the Rams, safety John Johnson and quarterback Troy Hill. I think it really fits what they want to do. That defense was banged up last year, but you get a guy like John Johnson who's always around the ball. I mean, this is a guy who makes a lot of tackles, always around the ball when it's in the air, gets his hands on the ball a lot. A great leader. Remember, he was the green dot guy for the Rams, a play caller. And then Troy Hill, he's a corner who can play inside, he can play outside. They've got some potentially athletic corners there if Greedy Williams comes around. To go with, why am I blanking? Former Denzel Ward right there. So Troy Hill can be used around as a nice little, piece. But I mean, look at this guy. Look at the stats from last year. I mean, 3 defensive scores. I think he had 3 picks, a forced fumble. So I think those are the types of moves that can take the team to the next level. Of course, AFC North is going to be tough, but I think those are like 2 moves or 2 pieces that could really help the Browns possibly win the division.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Browns, they were pretty close this past year. They're really building a nice team. I've said it for a while on paper. I mean, they should have way more wins than they have. But then, of course, it finally came together this year with a rookie head coach in Kevin Stefanski, no less.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you find that right guy, you catch fire, and they were just missing that. But I also say, I forget the guy's first name, but Barry, who they got from the Eagles, I think.
Andrew Barry, the GM.
Yeah, he's been huge for them. So, yeah, I like those 2 picks. Now, since a lot of my followers are Rams fans, and you brought up, I guess, 2 Rams, I want to ask you, the Rams, it sounded to me like, from what I was hearing, that Troy Hill, they were really in the mix for, and he chose the Browns. Now, first off, with that, like, do you look at that as the Rams wanted Troy Hill back more as the player, or like, could they go after a guy like I've mentioned a lot on here, Brian Poole, or somebody along those lines to fill that void?
I think what happened was, one, the Browns probably came with more money in terms of structure and things like that, because the Rams were really up against it. Even with the Jared Goff contract, Matthew Stafford contract, Leonard Floyd was the priority. So they really had to make some real tough decisions. So I think that's what it came down to. Plus, I mean, they got players, man. I mean, the one thing that the Rams have not gotten credit for, I mean, here's a team that trades away every first-round pick that comes to mind. Like, those are the most worthless picks in the world to them.
Yeah.
But they develop guys. I mean, look at the safeties who they developed. Look at the corners they developed. Now, part of that is, they had a great safeties coach, Ejiro. I don't know why I'm blanking on his last name, but then Aubrey Pleasant, their cornerbacks coach, is considered, one of the best in the NFL. He's in Detroit now, right? Aubrey Pleasant's a great coach. Talk to Jalen Ramsey, those guys, about Aubrey Pleasant. He's gone to Detroit. So I'm interested to see, how things play out. But Brandon Staley, of course, is gone. But the development of guys That's a hard thing to do to coach, to develop players in the NFL, because you don't have a lot of time with them. And once you get out of training camp, you're going week to week. So that's them identifying players who want to be coached, getting guys from the scout team who work hard against the first team, who get better, and then when they get their opportunity, to take advantage of them. So credit to the Rams for being able to develop guys. So I think that's what happened with Troy Hills. There's a lot of young dudes kind of behind him who might be potentially cutting into his playing time as well. So maybe that's one of the reasons he also went to Cleveland.
Yeah, they really got a stellar grab in Darius Williams, a guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, talk about the fact that, first off, UAB wasn't even like a football program anymore. And then they came back, and all of a sudden they have all this talent coming from them now. And also, when you think about it, it was Jimmy Smith. The fact that the Ravens had to bring Jimmy Smith back on the roster that allowed the Rams to go and scoop up a guy like Darius Williams, who they tried to sneak onto their practice squad. And they've done this with Les Sneed. He's a demon with it. He'll go out. He took Tampa Bay's running back they drafted in the 7th round in Raymond Calais, and go back to Marquis Christian, with Arizona, they draft in the 5th round, and then he takes them, right before they try to sneak him on the practice squad, and he ends up being with the Rams for 2 years. So they've been doing it. Blake Countess. I mean, there's so many guys that they've been doing this with, and it's pretty crazy. But now with Les Sneed, he made a pretty big move, and that was getting Matthew Stafford. So I want to get your thoughts.
Oh yeah, only pretty big, Jake, right? Only pretty big, right?
Well, yeah, not big move.
Yeah. Yeah, not just getting Matthew Stafford, but trading away the quarterback who was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I mean, that's a huge move.
Yeah.
And you don't see that in the NFL. So this, I think, was clearly driven by the fact that Sean McVay was done with Jared Goff. And it's really weird how quickly that deteriorated. And it wasn't, I don't know if it's so much of a personality difference as it was to a production difference, right? Because
no, I agree.
Yeah, here's Sean McVay realizing his defense won them ball games. Make no mistake about it. The Rams were where they were last year because their defense had 4 defensive scores. They're one of the leaders in the NFL in takeaways. And they are giving Jared Goff and this offense great field position week after week, and they're kicking field goals. And it was just really weird because it looked like Goff's confidence just got worse and worse. And then you saw in that Miami game, we had the 4 giveaways, 2 lost fumbles, and the 2 interceptions. 2 of them ended up in scores for the Dolphins, defensive scores for the Dolphins. And from that point on, he never seemed to be on solid footing. And then when McVay had the opportunity to play John Wolford, was like, hey, I like this guy. He reminds me of me when I was a quarterback. I think that really hurt Goff's confidence. And so, I spoke to somebody with the team who's really closely involved with everything, who told me, like, yeah, does Deshaun and Jared need marriage counseling? Yes, they do. And I was like, it's there? They're like, it's there. And I was like, ooh, this isn't good. And then Les Snead does a news conference, like, Jared's our quarterback right now. I was like, he's gone. Like, they've got a partner. So to get Matt Stafford, look, there's no one who talked in the NFL who doesn't think this offense should be better. They think Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback. He's got more experience. He's seen more. He knows opposing personnel better. He knows opposing coaching tendencies better. So if they can get him a receiver who can blow the top off the defense, that was a major issue for the Rams, because if you have no deep threat, then teams can just sit down on you in the secondary and just choke you off underneath. And that whole Rams offense last year, there were no explosive plays unless it was a catch by Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson in an explosive run, or Garrett Cooper Kupp in an explosive run. So they have to get somebody who can take the top off the defense, because Matthew Stafford is going to stretch the field just because of the arm, and that's the way he likes to play.
I absolutely agree with you. And going out and getting Matthew Stafford, it's almost like I don't feel like people are giving it – like, there's almost Rams fans that don't quite even realize. Like, I feel like it was an addition by subtraction, because it's sad to say, because I actually met Jared Goff back – I went to the Giants-Rams game in 2017, and I met him outside of the game afterwards. Nice guy, right?
Great guy.
He really – I think he's a hard worker, and I think, he really did his best to fix it, like he said he'd do after the season in 2016. But when 2017-18 finished, and then, you had the Super Bowl, it's just he wasn't the same guy in 2019 and 2020. And, it's not even like he was throwing the deep ball and just his accuracy was gone or so. It was like he lost the confidence to throw that deep ball. And I feel like really that led to them getting rid of a guy like Brandon Cooks, because it's like, what's the point of paying a guy $16 million to stretch the field when your quarterback won't even throw that pass every, time you need him to? Josh Reynolds comes out in his press conference, for the Titans, and he says, I feel like I can be a deep threat. I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting him, directly. He's like, I feel like I can be a deep threat. And we had a lot of those big plays drawn up where I didn't get the ball thrown my way in those plays. We didn't throw it deep. So that really, to me, speaks volume, because I've been a huge fan of Matthew Stafford just because I followed the whole NFL just religiously. And I always felt like he was like the underrated, like he's like Rodgers light to me. Like before people started talking about Patrick Mahomes and his no-look pass. And by the way, I love Patrick Mahomes, so that's not a knock on him. I've watched Stafford do this for years, and people weren't talking about it the same way they were doing it with Mahomes. So I just feel like it's really awesome now. Like he's going to be able to be in that spotlight. He's going to be in LA. And I feel like, to be honest with you, he was the missing piece. Not saying they couldn't have won a Super Bowl with Goff if he kept on that train, but to go off it in 2019 and 2020, I just felt like he needed a change of scenery. I've actually been outspoken in my belief that I don't think this Lions team is that bad. I don't think they're going to tank like, some people are saying. I think they can compete. I think Anthony Lynn is a heck of a coach, and he's a heck of an offensive coordinator. You saw what he did with Buffalo. They were the number one run offense in the league. I think, Swift is in good hands there. And then you get Goff some weapons. You maybe go out and get, my number one wide receiver from Alabama in the draft. Wherever they pick there. And then, or maybe go out and get, a guy, like a Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle or Kyle Pitts, or in the second round,
It might be there at 7, maybe.
So I feel like he's going to have, I don't know, maybe it's just me rooting for Dan Campbell, but I don't feel like their team is as bad as people are saying. And the reason I bring it up is because I feel like Goff wasn't done. He was done in LA, but I feel like this change of scenery could be similar to like a Ryan Tannehill. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Ryan Tannehill didn't get to Super Bowl. Ryan Tannehill's issues were injuries and Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Jared Goff had Sean McVay. Adam Gase and Sean McVay are never going to be mentioned in the same breath in terms of play design, play caller, leadership, communicator. And look, I like Jared Goff. I think he's a good player. I just don't know what happened. It's real. Look, part of it, again, they got rid of Brandon Cooks. They didn't have that deep threat. We can sit here and say all the time he didn't throw it deep. Teams, I talked to defensive coordinators from the NFL, and they figured that out. If you can force the Rams into second and third and long, and you can take away a deep threat, they're not the most difficult team to defend because they run the same stuff that a lot of other teams run, that Kevin Stefanski runs, that Kyle Shanahan runs, that now, that Matt LaFleur runs, and now Mike LaFleur is going to run. So, teams are getting used to seeing all of the stuff that Sean McVay kind of hit the world with in 2016. So you've got to have some pieces around. They clearly don't have those in Detroit in terms of wide receivers. I mean, they let everybody go. So, they've got to get him some weapons, and, who really knows? I'm rooting for Jared Goff. I think he is a good player, and I think if he can get his mojo back, he's going to do some things for Detroit. I don't think he's this bridge quarterback all of a sudden, and if he is, then they've got the assets and the potential to move on from his contract after the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, just because I was critical of Goff. You follow me on Twitter. I don't think I have to tell you I was critical of Goff. But I will say this. I want Goff to succeed. And I don't feel like this is one of those things where, it'll be like, I told you so. It'll be, I told you so because of Stafford. It won't be, I told you so because Goff falls off a cliff and is out of the league. And I think that's the difference here, is that I feel like, and then certain people will compare this to the Sam Bradford thing. And in reality, it's similar, right? But Bradford actually went on to set the single season completion percentage record. And like,
come on now, no, hey, I'm not giving you that, man. Look at the yards per attempt.
No,
I am
not
giving you 5 million swing passes. Don't even try. Bro.
No, but you get my point.
I love
though.
Sam, but no.
You get my point, though. He went to the Vikings. I actually just had Kyle Sloter on last week, and he said he's the most accurate passer he's been around. He was around Stafford, too. And, I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of like, it's not really, it's a similar situation, but not the same. But
okay, Sam Bradford has the best completion percentage of the season. So is Drew Brees. Who are you taking?
Well, Drew Brees is throwing 8 yards downfield. I'm with you there.
Sam was throwing 5.
I know. No, my point, though, is that like he didn't flake completely out of the league right then and there. He went to the Eagles, then went to the Vikings. Somehow, the Eagles get a first-round pick for him in return. Poor guy couldn't stay healthy with his knees. But yes. I was going to use you bringing up Adam Gase to segue into Sam Darnold because
sure.
I want to know what your thoughts are on that because I like it for the Panthers and I'm like indifferent with the Jets because I feel like either way, like they're getting a good quarterback at 2. It's not the same like that's the thing. It's like it's a different regime. So I get that. But at the same time, it's like, they probably didn't want to commit to the 5th-year option. And then if Sam goes off, it's like now you have to pay him more than the 5th-year option, which would have saved you money. It's a tough situation. I feel like people are really quick to point the finger at the Jets or point the finger at, Carolina. What are you doing going out and getting Darnold? He's garbage, whatever. I think Darnold could play in this league. And I think, with Joe Brady, I'm thrilled to see him with those weapons. Joe Brady, Christian McCaffrey, both Moores and Robbie Anderson.
Reunited, yep.
But what are your thoughts?
No, look, first off, this is something you knew was going to happen because if you're a first-year head coach like Robert Saleh, you want to attach yourself to a rookie quarterback if you're picking this high because that's going to get you at least 3 years to figure it out, right? Because the rookie's probably going to struggle some this year. It's not as if the defenses in the AFC East suck. You have Leslie Frazier, Brian Flores, and Bill Belichick pretty much calling your defense. That's no joke, right?
Exactly.
So the rookie's going to have to deal with that. So now you're going to get a rookie contract and build the rest of the roster around a rookie contract. Plus, they've got multiple draft picks. They've got plenty of assets to do some things in the draft because of some of the previous mistakes that this organization has made. So, so trading Sam, I don't think there's any surprise from that standpoint. And what you said, not wanting to pick up the 5th-year option. And they did him a solid. They did him a solid by sending him down to Carolina because, like you said, Joe Brady and Matt Rule, there's going to be a quarterback-friendly offense. They've got some pieces down there in Carolina. That's going to be a team to watch. No one's talking about it right now, but you look at some of the things they've done this offseason. They've got some players coming down there. And Matt Rule, you saw what he did last year. They were in a lot of games they could not close, right? So now you've got a quarterback. If he doesn't turn the ball over, they've got the potential to make a lot of plays. And so I am really pulling for Sam Darnold. If they hit a home run with Sam right here, they get that contract next year. It's still a rookie deal. It's a bigger contract, but it's not going to be in that $40 million a year range contract. They can still continue to build a roster. And then if he continues to play well, then they can sign him to that long-term deal. But then they'll have something going. And by the time he could get going, guess what? Tom Brady could be out of the division by then. Matt Ryan could be out of the division by then. So, and you don't know what's going to happen with Jameis Winston in New Orleans. So you have to look at those components. That's why I think the Falcons are really exploring taking a quarterback at 4. Like, hey, Tom Brady is not going to be around forever, and we don't know how much what's going to happen with Jameis Winston down in New Orleans. So if we can kind of get things going over the next 2 years, the field is going to open up a little bit in the NFC South.
I agree with you on that. And that's kind of what I've been saying, looking at what Rule did, go back to even just college, how he revived a program that had tons of allegations and, it just basically fell off a cliff, a very good program at Baylor. And then he brought them back. But what he did at Temple was really impressive as well. And I don't know if people noticed, but he went out and got Hassan Reddick. These guys continue to want to play with him. That should tell you something. That tell
you everything.
That wasn't even his last job in college, and he has guys from Temple wanting to go over and play with him in the NFL. When I met Matt Rule at the Senior Bowl, I could tell like everything. Like this is why the guy's name was in coaching conversations and rumors for like 3 years. I mean, you could tell the guy has it.
Who had the opportunity to hire him a couple years ago? Who was it, Jake?
Who was it?
The Jets.
Oh,
Jets had him.
That's right. I thought they were gonna hire him.
Yeah, they were like, oh no, if you come here, we have to hire your staff, and he was like, no thanks.
Yeah, because why would you do
I'll
that?
pass. Hard.
That's
pass.
ridiculous. Yeah, that's now because we're talking about the Panthers. I really like their quarterback of last year, Teddy Bridgewater, but it's almost like he's getting to this point where he's now getting forced out potentially. I don't know. I saw that they could restructure and then keep him, but my concern is that Bridgewater gets forced out here. You have 5 potential NFL starters coming in this draft, and then you have guys like Jameis Winston who were backups last year starting. He's kind of like running out of spots in the NFL to start, and I do think he's an NFL caliber starter. Who is a good spot for him if there is one at this moment where he could still remain a starting quarterback? Because, I mean, I'm looking at I would say New England and I would say Chicago right off the top of my head.
Chicago would be one, especially for the way that they play. There's not many. I mean, there honestly aren't many because I've looked around where can Teddy go? And I say Denver. No, why would you rock with Teddy when you really just need to find out if Drew Lock can play? Because they've got pieces around their offense in Denver, and if Penei Sewell happens to fall to them,
oh my God,
then they've got a good offensive line. They've got stud wide receivers. There'll be no excuse for Drew Lock. So he has to show up. I mean, because they've got all the pieces around, and they've got players on defense. So I've thought about this. To me, there's really no place Teddy can go to really compete for a starting job. Maybe he ends up backing up Jared Goff in Detroit. I mean, that's not a bad scenario. Dan Campbell knows him from New Orleans and their time together there. So I don't think that would be the worst situation. But if Teddy's got his choice of backup jobs, he can go to a lot of different places to possibly, he has to say, okay, where could I get an opportunity to play in a system that fits my skill set? Because, Teddy, I watched a lot of their games last year, and he was good, but he was the guy who everyone hoped could be the closer, but he could only get you 2 outs, and he couldn't get you the third one. And that's what happened a lot during the season. He could not close out the game because they had so many opportunities, and he could not do it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to with him. I feel like he's consistent until he hits the fourth quarter and then he tries to do too much. It's we just need you to just manage, and then he would throw a game losing interception or unneeded, take the big, shot down the field. But now another guy who he threw more interceptions than touchdowns last year. That was Cam Newton. That's why I brought up New England. Are they sold on Cam Newton for this year? There's no way we'll see a Gardner Minshew type of trade or Marcus Mariota or maybe even trade up in the draft, right? Do you get the feeling that New England is good with rolling with Cam Newton?
No, they're not done. They're not done. I mean, if they can't find, that's how come you're hearing so much trade talk about them possibly moving up in the draft, trading up in the draft to get a quarterback. Or they're going to wait to see if there's fallout, if there's a Teddy Bridgewater, if they can get Jimmy Garoppolo. If they can get Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, they're going to make that move. And do not think even if we get to the draft and that trade hasn't been made that's off the table. I mean, that's something that could absolutely happen later. I mean, I think they're hoping Cam will be their guy, but they're going to bring somebody else in there to compete with him. Like you said, maybe Marcus Mariota. I don't know if that's, he has the same skill set as Jameis, but I don't know if that's someone that they would be in love with. But there's going to be, we're not done seeing some of this quarterback movement. As you mentioned, Gardner Minshew. Yeah. There's going to be, what's going to happen with Alex Smith? I mean, there's going to be some potential opportunities as there could be in Houston. Yes, they've got Ty Taylor, but they've got to get something else down there because who knows if Deshaun Watson is going to be able to even play a snap this year. And if he does, I don't think he's going to be playing for the Texans, just because even before all of these allegations happened, I think the trust was so badly broken down there that he was not going to play it down for them.
Yeah, I mean, you said it there. I mean, I agree with you. I'm glad to hear that because I feel like New England can compete. I know there's already like, oh, let's like Tom Brady won a Super Bowl without Belichick. Belichick's nothing, but Belichick kind of this offseason was like, hold on a second. You know, I still have an idea of how to win and go out and get, you know, and like the thing I liked about the Patriots offseason, I know there were a lot of people saying they just threw money at the wall. But like they got guys that like they wanted. Like Hunter Henry is a guy that he's talked about for years. Every time they play the Chargers, he talks about him. Jonnu Smith. They didn't go out and just grab Kenny Golladay. They went out and got receivers that they felt helped them, like a Nelson Aguilar, who was one of the better deep threats last year, kind of revitalized his career.
Yeah, great slot player.
And then I really like Kendrick Bourne. I know, like, there's a lot of people that were like $7 million per year. I'm like, Kendrick Bourne would be really good with as long as Cam Newton plays well, or if like they get another quarterback. Kendrick Bourne could really have a surprising year, with the Patriots. I liked that move, and I really liked going out and getting Matt Judon. I thought the Matt Judon pickup was like. That was a statement I thought that they made. I wasn't expecting to go that high in price, but they really went after it.
Yeah, I mean, look, all those guys are, well, I'm not going to say all those guys because I think Jonnu Smith is just, highlight film
he's
type
awesome.
player. But all the other guys fit the Patriot mold, right? Matt Judon, he's not going to go there and get 15 sacks. He may only have 8, but you know what? He's not going to let certain guys in certain games catch a pass, right? He's going to do things that are going to disrupt a tight end and an offensive tackle. So the defensive tackle can really cause a lot of problems in the run game, right? So these are guys who really fit what the Patriots do. And again, you can't look at the average of their contracts. You can't there say Kendrick Bourne $7 million a year when the structure of his contract
exactly
doesn't fall into that. So a lot of those deals, they may average out to a nice number, but the structure of them is still something affordable that's not going to handicap their flexibility to continue to bring in players or hamper them down the line against the cap.
Exactly. And like, what was Shaq Barrett's number for this year? It's like a $2 million cap. I don't even know how they did it.
It's bigger than that, but
it is. Okay.
But I mean, it's but it's the whole amortization. We're getting into real estate math here, but
yeah,
no need to bore people with minutia. Just know he's back with the Buccaneers, as is everybody else, and whoever their cap guy is went to Hogwarts because he knows how to finesse the numbers, man.
Yeah, he does. They brought back all 22. That was very impressive, and that's not something I expected. I thought they'd at least lose one of Chris Godwin or Shaq Barrett. Pretty much whoever they tagged, I thought they'd keep, and whoever they didn't tag, I thought they'd lose. Now, a lot of talk about the quarterbacks at the top. Who are your which quarterbacks in this draft, if you don't mind me asking, like you could rank your top 5, who would they be? Like in that
I'm not the college evaluator. I don't have the opportunity to watch enough college games and really say. I mean, Trey Lance, I've never seen one of his games. I've just seen cut-ups. He's a very talented player. But here's what I say. So much of this goes into the scheme and system and how they're supported. Sam Darnold, I loved him coming out of college. He went to an organization that did not do him right.
No.
So to sit there and say he's a bust, we'll see now. So look, the talent of, Trevor Lawrence is insane with his talent. Just Fields, talent. Zach Wilson, talent. Trey Lance, Mac Jones. It just, a lot of it depends on the schemes that they ran in college, their acumen, right? How much they can adapt. Does the coach need to help them figure things out like Sean McVay had to do with Jared Goff? Or are these the type of guys like you hear about Zach Wilson, like you throw him anything, let him see it once and he's good, right? So these are the things you have to understand because there's nobody in the world, even with Tua coming off of his injury, thought that he would struggle like he did without some type of vertical threats and explosive threats in the run and pass game. Well, most quarterbacks would struggle without it. You're easy to defend. And then Chan Gailey really dialed back what he was able to see. So their defense was really easy to defend. So, but there's nobody who didn't think Tua was going to be great his rookie year. Like, get Tua in there, and then, oh, wow, he did spend his entire offseason rehabbing an injury, didn't get to learn much of the offense because he was a scout team quarterback. Oh, now we're throwing him in there. So it's hard for me to sit there and rank these guys because I look at it more so where they can go. I think Trevor Lawrence in the system that Urban Meyer will run is a quarterback-friendly system. We know he runs a lot of the pistol, a lot of the run action, a lot of the mobile stuff like Trevor Lawrence ran in college. It's the same stuff that Tony Elliott designed for him at Clemson. Very, very similar schemes. Zach Wilson going number 2 to the Jets. Well, Mike LaFleur, Shanahan disciple. We're going to sit there and talk about all the great throws we saw from Zach Wilson at his pro day. They're going to be running the hell out of the ball, which is a good thing for Zach Wilson, which is why they brought Tevin Coleman over from the 49ers. So it's going to be run, action, boot, action off of that. You got to have the deep threat to go over the top to really open up the field for things to work. Number 3 gets interesting. If it is Mac Jones, which all indications are going to San Francisco, is this the guy who's going to manage the game? Or when you're going against the Seahawks or you're going against the Rams, you've got basically 2 snaps left from your 35 to get into the end zone. Is he going to be the guy to stick it? Trevor Lawrence, everyone says he's going to be the guy to stick it. Justin Fields is going to be the guy to stick it. But is Mac Jones going to be that guy? So, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people are wondering. And, what gives with Justin Fields? Why would he drop too far? The draft really starts at 4 with the Falcons. You look at these guys. Are the Falcons going to keep the pick? If so, are they going to draft a quarterback? If so, how's Matt Ryan going to take that? Would it be a Justin Fields who's from Atlanta, who every time Matt Ryan makes a mistake, people are going to call for? Or is it going to be a Trey Lance who's much more of a developmental guy like Jordan Love, and everyone's going to give Matt Ryan the full year as the starter before they start calling for his job?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to have to unfold.
It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. All this quarterback movement, all this stuff that's going on.
So good
right
for
now,
the league.
It's spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, and like your job, like the NFL Network, you guys are trying to keep us informed, but like it's football year from January to December. And I feel like you guys do a good job of that. But also, this league literally never sleeps. So they do throw you a bone.
Well, it never sleeps because, the thirst for professional football is insane. I mean, the numbers we do on a schedule release show. Crazy. But, I mean, season ticket holders and ticket brokers are like, okay, the Packers are going right here. Let's get a block of 40. We're going to be able to get back into the stadium. People are going to pay top dollar, and let's go get it. I mean, it's insane because people love it. And the great thing about the draft is it's the one time of the year where you fuse college fans and NFL fans. Because for the most part, I mean, that's a very different audience, especially in places like the Southeast. I mean, everyone says, how come great teams like the Saints and the Bucks and the Falcons and the Panthers don't get national coverage? They don't get regional coverage because the Gators, the Noles, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Clemson, all those, all those schools, I mean, that's what has built football in that region for the most part. So it's that's why the draft is so great, because it's the one time of the year, man, where you fuse both fan bases, and frankly, it's where our bread is buttered. I mean, that's where we really start to hook people to watch the network.
Yeah, the draft is just, it's nuts, but it's like Christmas every year. It's like, even though my team never has a first round pick anymore, I still enjoy day 1. I still enjoy day 2, and I enjoy day 3. Day 3 is always interesting because I watch you guys, your coverage of it, and I'm like, it is so impressive to me how you guys can continue to keep it up when there's people at home I don't even know who this guy is, but I'm so interested because I can hear them talking about him. I mean, I know most of those guys. There's only a handful I didn't know last year, which is awkward because we're doing a live stream and I'm literally trying to know everybody and give analysis on everyone. I'm just like, guys, I don't know who that guy is from Grambling State. I'm going to be real with you. No, it's crazy and everything that, the draft brings. Now, I was going to ask you earlier, I remember now, the Steelers, they have Ben Roethlisberger, very interesting situation there. You know, people were wondering, is Ben gone? Is he going to come back? Are they going to draft a quarterback? Are they going to trade for a quarterback? They signed Dwayne Haskins. Now he takes this pay cut. It was like $12.5 million, I believe. They didn't really do a ton with that. What's your thoughts on the Steelers and how they're going to help out Ben Roethlisberger in what could be his last season as a Steeler?
They got to get that offensive line together. Remember, Pouncey retired. They lost the guard who went to the Chargers. That's the starting point because they couldn't run the ball last year. They weren't 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They were 3 yards in wishful thinking. And that was a huge issue. And so much is put on Ben. So they've got to figure out how to reestablish the run game. They've got to address the running back situation. They've got to fix the offensive line. The defense, they're loaded. Yes, they lost Bud Dupree, and that's a big shot. He was a good player, but they're loaded at pretty much every position. And then when you get Devin Bush back, healthy middle linebacker, he's a game changer. But offensively, you hope Ben, has enough left in the tank and to make things happen because it's not also that they're going to be missing some pieces. The Browns are on the come. Remember, they did all this last year without Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham is back. The Ravens are going nowhere. They're just fine. And the Bengals, they have quietly made some okay moves in free agency. I don't understand why they let Carl Lawson go.
That was
to the Jets. Wow. I mean, you signed a good player in Trey Hendrickson, but he's for this pretty much the same type of contract. But why didn't you keep the guy
who's familiar with the scheme?
Yeah, I mean that was a head scratcher. But it's an interesting division. The Steelers are a team. We did not mention them with Teddy Bridgewater. I think that's a team that should get in to like the Bridgewater sweepstakes as well. Because I don't know if Mason Rudolph is really that guy. And, Dwayne Haskins has to develop, but he's going into a culture where they're not going to accept the stuff that went on in Washington, which, that team found intolerable after a while. So, what can they do? So, yeah, the Steelers are going to be an interesting team this year. That's going to be a real interesting team.
They're really interesting to me because when I look at like all these mock drafts, first off, I don't like throwing a bunch of mock drafts out there. Like just like when I feel solidified on one, I'll put one out, but I don't like I'm not one that makes like 50 mock drafts. I'm one that gets DM'd, hey, how good is this mock draft 50 times? But what I'll say is that I've been seeing a lot of Steelers and Najee Harris. And I do the AJ show with my cousin every Saturday. He's a huge Steelers fan, and he does not like Najee Harris at all there because he feels like, just like you and I are talking, the offensive line is a huge issue, like huge. They have Dotson, who they got from Louisiana Lafayette, who I really like. That's it. Him and DeCastro. I mean, that's like, so they have two guards that I like, a guy that is established in the league and a guy I like because of his potential, but they need a center, left tackle, and a right tackle. So to me, I don't know how you go out and you draft a running back and think you cleared everything up. Plus, I also want to get your thoughts. There's running backs out there that I think can obviously still play in this league. I know everyone's out on Todd Gurley because he doesn't have the burst he initially had, but I think Todd Gurley can still play in this league. And Adrian Peterson, to me on film, he could be 1,000-yard rusher. I know it sounds crazy I'm saying that, but he could be 1,000-yard rusher in this day and age if they gave him the carries to do it. I really, honestly, I'm impressed with the way he's kept himself in shape, and I think he can still play in this league. Do you see those guys getting signed, at any point soon?
Not soon. I mean, this is one where you're going to clear the draft. You're going to get through if they have on-field OTAs. So teams can see what they have. They're going to look at the young players. And look, when you talk about Pittsburgh and Najee Harris, right? If he's the best player, if you figure you can get a right tackle or a left tackle that you want to target, but that dude's going to be there for you in the second round, you draft Najee Harris. That's where that's where you get into the best player available range. Right. When you're in the 20s drafting, you cannot necessarily say like, okay, we need a tackle, so we're going to draft this tackle Brady Christensen from Brigham Young. Now, if Brady Christensen's there, you better take him. That guy's a good player, and he can play both tackle spots. And his coaches told me he can slide inside the guard and play some center if you need to. But if Najee Harris is higher on your board, at that point you take him, and then you fill in the gaps a little bit down the road. And you got to coach guys up too. But it's just. This is, we're talking about the Steelers and guys like that and the veteran running backs. Adrian Peterson and Todd Gurley, I would think Peterson would get signed before Gurley, but these guys are going to be closer to training camp signings.
Like Sherman probably.
Well, Sherman, I don't know if Sherman's going to be closer to training camp. I think Sherman will be maybe right after the draft, before these teams get into OTAs and things like that. Especially if he signed to a team like the Jets. I would think that Robert Saleh would want to bring him around because he could bring some things to the Jets because he can still play a little bit. If he's healthy, he'll still be good. But I think when it comes to running backs, they're like, hey, Adrian, Todd, we'll get you in here before preseason game number 1. You won't play any in the preseason. We just want to see what you guys can do because people forget besides running the football. The biggest battering running backs take is pass protection.
Yeah.
When you're Todd Gurley weighing 220 and you've got to bang Von Miller or you got to bang Khalil Mack 4 or 5 times a game, they're coming around the edge, with their hair on fire. That's no joke, man. And that's a real physical part of the game. And they've had several years of doing that. So they don't want to put any they don't want to take any more tread off those tires.
That's true. And it's funny because, I've gotten questions, like Rams fans asking me, like, with Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, could you make the argument going out and getting Adrian Peterson or bringing back Todd Gurley? I was like, first off, let me stop you there. I love Todd. There's no way Todd is going to sign with the Rams ever again.
We're talking
about no. That's not happening. But Adrian Peterson has said that he's interested in signing with Pittsburgh, who we just mentioned, and the Rams. So, I mean, I could see that. I know everyone's like, Malcolm Brown's gone, so, move on. I know they really like Xavier Jones. As a matter of fact, Sneed has mentioned him before. Yeah. I really like him. But
Adrian Peterson's not going to the Rams, bro.
Oh, really?
No.
Do tell.
I mean, I'm just saying he doesn't. I mean, why? They've got running backs. They develop guys. When is the last veteran running back, so to speak, like an Adrian Peterson, been acquired by the Rams?
C.J. Anderson. When all hell broke loose, when they lost Gurley and then Justin Davis and John Kelly weren't ready, and so they had to sign C.J. Anderson.
So there you go. Yeah. So they're going to go. They're going to go through all their developmental guys. They're going to go through all their developmental guys. First,
they're one of the better teams that I've seen at developing UDFAs. Just look at Corey Littleton, Rodney McLeod. I mean, they like Morgan Fox, who just got a decent
tons of guys.
Yeah,
they're great at that. Great.
That's probably why they're not worried about picks.
Clearly.
Some of these other teams, however, might need a 50-man UDFA class. The way some of these teams draft, they'll have like 11 picks, and they'll take a guy who's everyone has valued as the 7th round. They'll take him the 2nd round. I don't know. Now, wrapping this up, because I know you're busy, man. I don't want to keep you all night. Who are your biggest contenders moving into this year so far? Obviously, the draft hasn't happened yet, but if you just had to pick, right now, name 3 teams in each conference that you're really looking at that could hoist the Lombardi Trophy, who are you looking at?
Are we taking the Chiefs and Bucks out of it?
Yes, because that just kind of is a given.
All right, so Green Bay, Seattle. Hold up. Green Bay. The Rams. I think the Rams and Matthew Stafford are right there. I think they're going to be really good. And another team from the NFC, I've already said Green Bay. I don't really see a team come out of the East that tickles my fancy. So I'll go with another team out of the South. And wow. I still have to go back to the Saints. Even though Jameis is there, I think Jameis is going to end up having a pretty good year. So I'll say your typical front runners. I think Carolina is going to be a sleeper team to watch. Right now, I don't have a feel for some of these teams. You know what? Arizona is going to be a team to watch because I think Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim are going to have some pressure to make a move this year. They've made some getting Rodney Hudson at center. I mean, they've quietly made some nice offseason moves, kind of real discreet and under the radar, but Arizona could be a team to watch as well. I am finally starting to buy in a little bit with what they got going on there.
Okay. All right. So you're buying in Arizona with they added JJ Watt. Hopefully AJ Green finally catches some of his old days, I mean, I feel like AJ Green was held back by Andy Dalton towards like the end of Andy Dalton's play there. And then the injuries. And then this past
year. It's the injuries. It's the injuries, and then things got sour. I'm not going to say he was held back by Andy Dalton. I don't think that's fair.
So now you mentioned like you went to the NFC East and you're like, I don't see anybody there. I feel like Washington has a monster defense, right? And they have a lot of weapons. And they add, Curtis Samuel. They add my guy Will Jackson, the secondary. Now, with Washington, I really like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm happy for him to get an opportunity to start. But could they make a move here and get that quarterback that everyone's saying they're a quarterback away from,
They could. That's another thing to watch to see if they're going to draft one. I mean, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, just because of his age and everything, he's not the long-term answer.
No.
So are they going to make that move this year to try to find it? Look, if Kyle Allen's got to come back in, teams have seen what he can do. They've seen what he can do behind Fitzpatrick should he get hurt. So at some point they've got to figure out what they want to do at the quarterback spot. So, but I think if I had to pick a team at the moment in the East, it would be them. But look, it's going to be everyone talks about how terrible the division was last year, but this is almost always a 10-6, 9-7 team that wins this division. It's usually a team that really starts playing well at the end of the season that wins a division and becomes a problem in the playoffs. Could that be Dallas? We'll see. We'll see if Dan Quinn and that defense can get better, and if Dak Prescott can come back and play well with all the weapons he has. Remember, he's playing very well before they got hurt. We'll see if Daniel Jones and all the moves that the Giants made pay off. I mean, they've made a lot of moves.
I like what the Giants are doing.
As well. I agree, and look, Joe Judge, for all the jokes people might have been saying about him, you talk to people who
I love Joe Judge.
Who played for him and everything. They're like, no, he's that guy. And they played disciplined football. They played hard. They just didn't have enough players. So if they keep Saquon healthy and some of those other guys can come together, that could be another team to keep an eye on.
I absolutely agree with you on the Giants. I mean, they're a team I feel like, look at what Joe Judge was able to do without Saquon last year, who was literally the engine of their offense. And all those injuries they had. Tate was never healthy. Shepard was hurt, And now they go out and get Kenny Golladay, who I understand he's been banged up a lot. But if he stays healthy, man, they have a legit number one receiver, and they have a myriad of talent at the wide receiver position. When you look at Darius Slayton, what he can do, taking the top off the defense. You go out and you had Kyle Rudolph, who I think is a very underrated signing as well. You still have Ingram, and Saquon's coming back. So it's almost like you acquired a new player because you only had him 2 games last year. So you'll have Saquon back. You look at the defense, they're able to retain Leonard Williams, go out and get a Dory Jackson. Love that move. And I just think the Giants, it's really up to Daniel Jones, to be honest.
Yes.
If Daniel Jones plays like he did early on in his rookie year, I don't know. I mean, we don't know about this guy. I know that there's it's becoming noticeable how quickly, fans want to throw away their quarterback, but Giants are sticking by Jones while all these other teams are might take a quarterback here. I'm noticing that. Now at the AFC, who are your 3 teams?
Oh, wow. Very, very. I mean, Buffalo. I mean, the Bills are really on the come up. I like getting Emmanuel Sanders. It's really how about some of the moves? Yeah, some of the moves they've made, very quiet but subtle. I think they've got a really good culture going on right there. The Browns, if they can build up, like I said, they did all they did last year without Odell. If he can add something to that offense a little bit, I think Cleveland's a team that could very much be in the mix. And I got to tell you, the Colts are like, man, they're so ready. And then you have the whole, is Carson Wentz going to be able to bounce back factor? I think he is. I think the guys,
I do too.
From what you saw a couple years ago, just an incredible talent. So, those I know I'm forgetting a couple of teams. The Dolphins, to me, if they can get a couple more playmakers, I think Tua is gonna come around. So, those are a couple teams right now. I mean, the Ravens are going nowhere. So I know I'm seeing a lot of teams, but the Ravens are still going to be one of the best teams to challenge.
The AFC's wide open, essentially. I mean, like, who are you ruling out in the AFC, though?
Are you serious?
No, like, so you have the Ravens, you have the Browns,
right?
Okay,
right.
You have the Chiefs. I think the Chargers are right there. I think the Chargers I have in the Super Bowl playing the Rams. I think the Chargers are going to be very good.
Bro, I have put too many oars in the Chargers' water for
I understand,
long.
but I saw what Brandon Staley did last year, and now to already have Herbert go out and get.
They should be really good.
Oh man, I think they're going to be very good. And then
they got to get left. They got to get some tackles. They got to tighten up their tackles.
That's true. They went out and got Lindsley, which I really like that move. No, it wasn't them that got Tevy. It was I didn't know what the Colts were doing getting Tevy and what's his name, Davenport. I'm assuming they're drafting a left tackle. I'm assuming because you're gonna have to protect Carson Wentz. Colts are another team. I think the Colts are asleep.
Well, Titans. I mean, let's not forget about Tennessee.
See what I'm saying? There's a lot of teams here in the conversation, whereas in the NFC, we were more leaning towards the Rams, the Bucks, the Cardinals, and the Packers.
Yeah, but you could throw the whole NFC West in there, man. You can say true. we can go Minnesota, Green Bay. I mean, again, the NFC East is going to be a team that gets hot.
I mean, the Niners.
At the end.
I wouldn't rule out the Niners.
No. Hell no. Nope.
Are the Seahawks going to trade Russell Wilson?
Not this
That's
year.
what I need to know.
Not this year.
Okay, because they're not making any Super Bowl if they trade Russell Wilson. I'm just saying that right now.
No.
But they still have a good roster. I'm actually excited. May not be the right word when I have Rams viewers listening, but as a football fan, I'm really happy for Waldron to have that opportunity. No OC with the Rams or passing game coordinator with the Rams was calling plays. That was McVay. So now you have Waldron, you have Gerald Everett, and Andy Dickerson is also there as, I believe, the run game coordinator came over from the Rams. So I am intrigued to see how well he does there. I will say that. I hope they don't.
Yeah. And I tell you what, if Gerald Everett really ever gets the opportunity to unleash his talents consistently, that could be a nice sleeper move for them because that dude is gifted, man.
I agree. Steve, really appreciate you. Again, I just didn't want to keep you all night. I know you're a busy man.
No, Jake, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll have to talk soon. Guys, that has been the Jake Ellenbogen live show with Steve Wyche. My guy over here, be sure to follow him at Wyche89, I believe. It's Wyche89.
That's it.
Okay. All right. I did off the top of my head. That was risky.
Well done.
Go follow him at Wyche89. You can also follow him with your eyes by watching NFL Network. He's on there and he's killing it. The game. He's one of the best in the business. Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you, Jake.
All right. You guys take care and I'll see you guys soon.